Mother, keep me warm. Always be my lighthouse in the storm. And Mother, set me free. Give me wings to fly eternally. Mother of love, angel of light, I'm a long lost child, so alone in the night. Mother of love, angel of light, you have saved this soul, you have given me sight. Must the world, the tide of war is rising? The suffering of our children fills our eyes. Mother of love, angel of light, I'm a long lost child, so alone in the night. Mother of love, angel of light, you have saved this soul, you have woken me, Mother of love.
Om Shanti. So this is a very special occasion for us to talk about Dadi Janki. We are quite happy to have with us Sister Jaymini and her team. While we all know Dadi Janki, she is the one who has pioneered double foreign service out of the UK. And together with her, we know names like Sister Jayanti and Didu Sudesh. And there were many others behind that group, and those included Brother Balwant, Sister Maureen, Sister Jaymini. Sister Jaymini especially because she has been an excellent team worker. She is very good with people. She serves from top to bottom, day and night. And in my very first trip coming to Madhuban in the 1980s, we had to pass through the UK. And Sister Jaymini was there to greet us and provide warm clothes because we didn't realize what it meant to be in the UK. I was coming from Trinidad. And we understood cold to be, like 25 degrees. And when we got there, it was like 10. So we had no idea what we were getting into. And of course, Sister Jaymini was there with her team to look after us. So I'm really pleased to have her here today. And she's also here with some of her team. And we'd like to welcome them and hand over to them on this very important and heartfelt topic about Dadi Janki. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you for attending this session, and we're really here today to celebrate the life and times of Dadi Janki and sharing our experiences. But before we do that, we'd just like to give a sort of brief introduction, and it really is a brief introduction. So my name is Paramjit. I'm from Harmony House, Leicester, UK, and I've been with Baba since July 1995.
Om Shanti, good morning everyone here and everyone joining us online. Body's name is Toots, and I have been on this sweet path of Gyan and Yoga since 1998, and I took spiritual birth at GCH in London, and I still dwell there.
Thank you. My name is Jaymini, as you heard from Brother Vijay. Yes, there are many memories of all those arriving from Guyana, Trinidad to London during really severe winters in London in those years. So I've been on this journey since nearly 45 years, and my fortune has been, day one, I was with Dadi Janki, and that was my dream, to be with someone who received the palna, the sustenance directly from Brahma Baba. That was my dream, that I always wanted to be with them. And so out of blue, I came, Dadi invited me to be with her, and that was in 1980. My journey began, but I was with Baba from 1977 onwards.
Om Shanti, good morning. My name is Denzel, and I'm based in Canada. And I was just reflecting, I first stepped foot in Madhavan 25 years ago. Baba found me in 1997 and made the trip via London to Madhavan in 1998. So it's novel to be on this side of the stage.
My name is Urvashi, and I've been in Gyan since I was a child. My mum came into Gyan in 1974, and I've been in Global House for the last 30 years.
Thank you for everyone for their wonderful and also brief introduction. But today, this is really a moment where we're sharing our personal stories, where we've been with Dadi Janki, and hopefully we will convey those who've not met Dadi Janki that you have known Dadi Janki all your lives by the end of this session. Now, I remember coming into Gyan July 95, and the center coordinator, Babubai, he was always talking about Dadi Janki this, Dadi Janki that, and I didn't know who Dadi Janki was. I knew she was a senior within the organization, because when you come into the yagya, you're not familiar with the jargon, you don't know who's who, so you tend to be a little bit fearless in the sense that you're not afraid of anyone's name or reputation. And anyway, he would always go to London every Sunday on the dot, Dadi Janki. And I was thinking, I was just trying to sort of remember the first lesson. Consider yourself to be a soul and remember me, the Father. So me, it was like, forget all beings, and especially Dadi Janki, and it's like, I'm a soul. You're a soul, I'm a soul. Anyway, it got too much, and I had to go and find out Dadi Janki's class. And of course, I went to Global House. Well, I was hooked. And I could see why Babubai was praising Dadi Janki. And that was my first encounter with Dadi Janki. And the impression she left on me, it's still sustaining me to this day. So how was your first encounter with Dadi Janki, and what was your experience?
Yes, well, I'd heard quite a lot about Dadi, and definitely there was this feeling, this is God's instrument. And so I felt really quite in awe of her, because at that point in time, the self-esteem was a bit diminished, and this notion of coming close or even speaking to someone of that spiritual level, I was rather shaky, actually, when I first met Dadi, but she very quickly put me at ease. And I often used to go into Global House to do karma yoga. I used to do the stairs, up and down, trying to clean all those births. And often I would witness, and I didn't talk, but I would witness the team that was Dadi Janki and Sister Genti. And they would be walking together around the house, pacing around the house. And you could feel the determination, but also the power of silence coming from both. And my first memory is of them stopping and giving me very powerful drishti. It nearly knocked me out. and then carrying on. But as I began to learn about her story, I really resonated with it. Her intrepidity, her great explorer spirit that even brought her to the West out of all those that had been with Brahma Baba, it always really resonated and fascinated me.
That's nice. Yeah, my first encounter with Dadi Janki was when we had gone for a retreat, about 120 of us. This is in late 70s. And we were all together, and in those days everybody will do everything together, so there was not a separation or segregation of any sort. And I was very new, I was just 6 months in Gyan, and I observed Dadi, and I had a lot of love for her somehow in my heart. The love was oozing for Dadi. And when Dadi, I remember Dadi, wherever she went, I used to follow her. And so she went to the bathroom, so I followed her, and I want to watch Dadi. She is all on her own, going alone, and for me, she's like my grandmother. I saw her with that vision, and I always wanted to see how I could help her. And so my love for her was that of constantly being with her and assisting her, helping her. So you could see that the path was unraveling, whatever it is that was to come. But many things happened later, afterwards, about 6 months, 8 months, 8 months in time. I discovered that I was with Dadi living in Baba Bhavan. So Dadi had invited me to come and stay with her because there was only Jayanti Ben, Dadi, and Sudesh Ben. And so Dadi asked me if I could come and be with them. So I said, yes, Dadi, I'm very happy to be with you. So then that was my first moment, 1980, when I began to stay in Baba Bhavan on Dadi's invitation. So that was my big fortune. I was fully aware of it.
I remember one of the first things when I first came to Baba, it was around the time when Dadi Janki, there's a whole interview with Uri Geller, or also I think it was before that, Baba, Dadi Janki was declared like the most stable mind. Right, yeah, so exactly, it was the most stable mind in the world, and I thought, wow. And then also that I was fascinated by just this book, God is my companion, that notion, that was a new thing for me. Anyway, come to Madhavan, and Daddy was giving a class, I think in one of the rooms in Global Hospital, I think, and the drishti was incredible. It put me to tears. It was like she knew exactly what I needed at that moment and forever. Also, a very special moment. I requested a new name because back in the day we would get spiritual names. Baba would give us new names, and that stopped. But I requested one, and I didn't necessarily have a name in mind. But when I asked, Dadi Janki sort of went in, pondered for a bit, and then came out with Sham Sundar. And my initial reaction was like, ooh, it's like two names, not even one, and it's like, it's kind of long, but whatever. Little did I know how appropriate that name was, because I love the cycle, I love the drama. It was one of the most favorite things I learned. So within Sham Sundar, the cycle is there, and so it also connects me to the Murli, because every time it's in the Murli, it reminds me of me, my part, the cycle of my part, and the whole thing. So just her churning the knowledge, it was incredible. So her knowing exactly what you need, even more than you realized, that I realized.
I think I was 10, and I remember going to Baba Bhavan, And my mum had taught me a little rhyme, which was pure Gyan. Don't ask me what it is now, because I can't remember. But I was 10 years old, and so I remember in front of Dadi Janki and just saying this rhyme. And once I stopped, there's this big smile on Dadi's face, and she gave me a hug. So that was my first real encounter, but the real face-to-face encounter was in '94. And I was 23 years old, and I remember coming to London, and I think it was Jaymini who was translating for me, because I didn't know a single word of Hindi in those days. So I think it was Jaymini in a tiny room in Global House, and Dadi was asking me, what are you doing now? I said, well, I've just finished my university, I've passed my studies. And so she goes, what would you like to do? I said, I'd like to spend some time with someone and to really go into the depth of knowledge and understand knowledge more deeply. And she said, what about work? So I said, well, I will look for work. She goes, why don't you come to London and look for work here? And when Dadi says something like that, if you read between the lines, as they say, it was like I could feel she was telling me, come and stay in Baba's home, come and surrender. And I remember going into one of the changing rooms, and because I said yes, I said I'll do it. My parents didn't know anything, and though nobody really knows me here, but those who knew me in the small centre would have known that not even 1%, they would have thought I would ever go into a centre. Not that, there was no interest or anything. And so I just said yes, just like that to her. And I remember going into the changing room, and I cried. And I cried because I realized that my life is changing. Rather than doing work and doing the 9-to-5 job, I knew that the road was taking me somewhere else. And Dadi was the one. So Dadi always saw the future. Obviously she can't predict the future, but she knew the soul and she knew what the capability was. And so this is why Dadi always homed into that, and this is why I'm here today.
Thank you for that. There's one thing I've loved about Dadi Janki is she's so inclusive. She is so caring about everyone. And I remember coming to Madhuban for the first time with the family. We moved over from Pandav Bhavan to Gyan Sarovar in February, March 1996. And our son, Rajan, who was about 8 years of age, he became a little bit upset because he had some sort of karmic accounts of the body. So he was admitted to the, that Baba's dispensary is also a little bit of like a mini hospital. And he said, no one comes to see me, you're all by yourself. And Harinda, my wife, she mentioned to Pravina Ben, who at that time was responsible for Dadi Janki's care, and Pravina Ben told Dadi Janki, and then out of the blue, she turns up at the hospital to give drishti to Rajan. And he was absolutely gobsmacked. He would never have imagined Dadi Janki coming all this way. And then suddenly, all the doctors and the nurses were suddenly uplifted. There was a tremendous amount of energy. And she said, you see, there's benefit in everything. Now everyone's is benefit. And there was a whole queue of giving the tolis. And I thought, that is how caring Dadi is. And she will drop just to help someone else. So can you recall a time when Dadi helped you, or helped someone else, how she sort of brought her motherly instinct out into the front? Jaymini Ben, maybe we'll start with you today.
Well, I have many encounterments such as Rajan's experience, but I've also witnessed Dadi playing that role for others. in London, but also other places outside of London. I remember there was a brother who was very unwell, and he's in another country. And in those days, this is in 80s, we didn't know, we were so innocent that we have to take visas to go to Mauritius. But we also, to even go in transit through France, we have to take French visas. We didn't know that. And Dadi used to travel by herself, never anybody traveled with her. This was in 80s. So this person, when we came to know that he had cancer, instantly, Dadi used to make instant plans, and she said she wants to go. So she packed her bags, we helped her, and we went to drop her off at the Heathrow airport. And when we went there, she went off, and then in France, she was stopped. They didn't allow her to go further. She didn't have French visas. So what I'm saying is that she had really good heart, and she really wants to go and see this person who is actually on the 4th stage of the cancer. And Dadi wanted to be there. And she was not able to make it. She came home, and of course she was very unwell after that. So it was drama accurate that she didn't travel. But this used to happen a lot to her, that something or the other would stop her, and when she comes back to the center, she would be very unwell. And so you could see the drama. She has the thought of going, but instead what she did was that even though she was unwell, she stayed in her room giving vibrational energy. That is, we call sakash in those days. Dadi would sit on her chair and give vibrations. She would give vibrations, and we would hear the news of the person who was not well, how he was getting on. So you could see that Dadi would give that kind of attention. And I know that about 5 years ago, I was in Global Hospital. I had 2 knee replacements together, and Dadi couldn't understand. I was walking fine in her eyes. What was wrong? Why I had to go through this operation? She couldn't understand. But you know, for Dadi to come mostly every other day to Global Hospital, it gave a big boost to the whole staff, the Global Hospital staff, all the doctors and everyone. So you could see that Dadi would do that, but so many were benefited. I was, of course, uplifted, and whatever I was going through, I was able to come out of it very quickly, but others were very, very honored for Dadi visiting the hospital. And she would do that all the time. For anyone that she hears is not well, she would go and visit them. This was like a thing with Dadi, always.
Jaymini Ben, can I ask a question? Do you think that all of this nature is definitely the soul's implicit, massive heart and generosity? Do you think it was there before she learnt soul consciousness and connection? Yeah. And all the caring and all the ways, was that directly from Brahma Baba?
I think so. Toots, Dadi had this very deep personality of caring, loving, and also very merciful. You see, Dadi's quality is mercy. She comes from that angle of mercy. Sometimes I've seen her very stern, very, very not, like if someone is not able to understand something, she would make time to explain to them, spend time with them, however number of hours or minutes it takes. She will never give up on them. But at the same time, she was very powerful, and she was very, she knew how to fix the problem, and she knew what this person wants, because she can actually see the 3 aspects of time of that soul. And she would want to help them come out of that situation. And it's literally, we know that the person has to do the effort, but here, if you see, it's Dadi who is really putting her energy and bringing them out of that. So her deep, deep compassion and love that really helped everybody to come out of the experiences that they are going through, good or bad, at that time. Anyone wants to add?
Do you have any experiences, Urvashi, Denzel, about how Daddy's magic helps others?
I think for me, Daddy's main quality is she was an amazing listener. So caring, for me, really means that you listen. And there are many incidents and situations, as you know, even for yourself, you can imagine, the moment each one of us would have come in front of Daddy, you knew that she completely had that full attention on you. She wasn't interested in who else was in the room at all, but you're in front of her, it's you, and that care that she had. And so I just remember this one time, again, when I first came to stay in London, it must have been a year after, and I was going in the car with Daddy to just Baba Bone, really. And she asked me, how are you? How's everything? And I said, Daddy, I said, coming from a small centre, you know, I felt more family feeling, and global house is like Madhuban. And so I said, I don't feel that much family feeling for me. And the magic was, the moment I said that, that feeling had gone. So with Daddy, the moment you just shared honestly from your heart, you know it's been given to Baba straight away. And in the last few years before Daddy left us, I had the opportunity to really care for her with Hansaben and Devi. And Daddy's care was, even though she wasn't so well sometimes, somebody's, you know, leaving early in the morning or late at night, she would remember that this soul is leaving. And even though she may be just about to go to sleep or just about to do something, she would say, has that person arrived? So Daddy's care was for every single one, not just for certain people. Daddy was not a specific person. She actually looked out for every single one. And so until that person would come, Daddy would keep on asking, you know, where's that person? They're going to be leaving. And so until that person would come in front, I remember, where's the Todli? Doli, give the Todli, give the blessing, give the gifts. And that was her care. And that soul would never forget that this is what Daddy did. So for me, that's real care.
Yeah. Thinking of Robin Gibbs' song, Mother, how appropriate that was, and that is. I have a memory of being in Vancouver, and Dadi Janki had come out for a program, I can't remember which one, but at that time I was in the center. It was early morning, and just a simple thing, but she shared her apples. Like she had this thing with apples. I think she put a little salt on it as well, but just the way she fed me that apple was so touching, you know? And it inspired another thing. Of course, our tradition is we give tolis. We always have gifts. So, for whatever reason, Dadi Janki had this toli, and it was a Ferrero Rocher chocolate, you know? And I thought, wow. Because there are certain, you know, I thought, well, it's not even homemade, you know? It's like, but now, when I travel and perform, do a lot of stuff with symphony orchestras and things like that. And so now, when I first started doing it, I would bring the Ferrero Rocher chocolate just because that's our tradition of giving. And so I know while we're speaking of, we're honoring Dadi Janki, but I know that Daddy would also think she's just an example, and oftentimes she refers to herself as a sister. So it's like her doing we are to do the same. We're doing the same.
But
so
you know, Denzel, something that towards the end, Daddy stopped giving chocolates. Hansa told us, no chocolate tolis to Madhuban. Don't send any chocolate tolis to Madhuban. Towards the end.
Okay, I'll think about that. But the thing is, anyway.
No, but that was good. There was time. Actually, there was time when Dadi did, because all of us, we all love chocolates, right? And so we know that we cannot have chocolates. But there was a time that Dadi knew that everybody is keen to have chocolates, so she was giving us chocolates.
It's the act of giving, isn't it? So all go out and get your Ferrari Rocher when you get home and just spread them out to everyone you know, and they'll feel your loving drishti like Daddy did. I just wanted, a memory is coming to mind about a demonstration of Daddy's capacity to also be with souls who were very much in opposition to her. And it was such a lesson to observe that and see how she did not fluctuate in her love for that soul. And it was in a public program in Oxford, in one of the university theatres. And it was Daddy billed with two scientists. And one was on the sort of spiritual journey already and looking at science from that. But the other one was not at all. And he was absolutely, he delivered his speech about brain-based consciousness. And then after he'd spoken, he went like this, "Don't try and change me for a minute." And his whole body language was like, I'm up against it. And actually he was sitting next to Daddy, and just as an observer in the auditorium, I was really intrigued to see what Daddy was going to do next, because he wasn't having anything of it, that consciousness could be more than the brain, than in matter. So Daddy just leant over to him and went, "It's okay, brother, it's okay." And he just went like this. He completely melted, because he experienced, obviously, Baba's power through her, the drishti, the love that she was still giving to him, even though he was in a completely different mindset. And to me, that really struck me in terms of, how we are with souls who really, don't really want to hear about it as such, but to just keep that love going to each one. Yeah.
I just want to talk about how the balance of Dadi Janki. She was extremely spiritually balanced. I've never met a soul who knows what to do exactly at the right time. She was so clued in. But at the same time, she had a great sense of humor. And once there was a celebration for Dadi Janki. I can't remember. It must have been her birthday or something. Anyways, and it was exclusively for the brothers only. So no sisters were invited. And were there lots? Okay, well, I had to travel from Leicester, so I wasn't privy to some of these events. Anyway, on this occasion, I was there. And this was in the seminar room. It's a little room just below the auditorium in Global House. And all the senior brothers were there, and Dadi Janki was there, and they were serenading her. And they were absolutely, seriously, you would never see this unless you were there. You would not believe it. They were dressing up as women, dancing all these things to sort of please Dadi Janki. And Dadi Janki, she loved it. She was in a belly full of laughter, and I thought, wow, this is a side I've never seen of her. And it's like, she's so approachable. It's like, because when she comes on stage, it's like, she's got that air of, Master Almighty authority. She has that connection with Baba. But on this occasion, it was like, wow, I was so moved over, and I thought, she's one of us. So can you recall some instances where you saw the humor of Dadi Janki?
Just a very quick one, and I'll pass it over. On this stage, Christmas, Daddy dressed up as Father Christmas. Loving it and really celebrating, because it was at Christmas time. Often it was families, double foreigner families who used to come then. So the Madame Anouasis used to make a wonderful thing of the Christmas ceremony to make everyone again feel at home and that caring and sharing. And I remember in sort of the later years, not right towards the end, but in the later years, she was on this stage dressed up with her Father Christmas hat and everything, having a wonderful time. So yeah, she helped us to realize that spirituality, is certainly not dry.
Actually, Dadi went through the phases. In fact, in the early days, she was like a teacher, and she was always like this, very strict. And I think it was the right thing at that time when Dadi was in that form. But then when we moved to Dudden Hill, that's a local community center, Dadi was very open, because now you have so many people coming to Baba, and so the gradual expansion began to happen. And so Dadi became more and more light-hearted, and she was mingling with the families. And she would say to the families that she was going to come and visit their homes. And you could see that before, Dadi was not like that. She would not go to anybody's home. And you could see that Dadi is really now mellowed down, and she is now mingling with all the people living in the household, because we had all the householders. Such a good example. And she would have a whole diary of visiting all these families, and once they know Dadi is coming, they would all prepare themselves, and they know what Dadi likes and she doesn't like, and offering of bhog and tidiness and cleanliness. And Dadi had this habit of opening the cupboards and looking inside the cupboards, so she was known for it. And so this actually was a second phase where Dadi lightened up, and she became more like a friend to everyone. And so this was the beginning, and then later, of course, she became more friendlier, and she would go visit, brothers and the sisters' places. They would invite Dadi, and Dadi would invite herself. She would go and have lunch there. We'd been to Shanti Bhavan many times for lunch. So these were the things which would actually break all the barriers, official barriers, and people were able to more and more come closer to Dadi and have a personal chat with her. So it was good that Dadi was able to do that and break all the barriers and be herself and make people, give them that experience of belonging very naturally.
I just remember a few years ago, Raksha Bandhan in London is like a 10 days of real powerful experience for those who've been there. And Dadi was in London, must be about 4 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, I can't remember exactly when. And so Dadi at that time, she wasn't tying Rakhi herself, but the other sisters were. And this particular year, I remember that 2019 and 18. And so Dadi, Rakhi would finish. So you can imagine the depth of experience and silence was there. Rakhi had finished the last Drishti song, and then she would say, play a song. And then everybody would start to dance, that they used to do with her feet, remember? And then there'd be this chalte, chalte, and within a second, silence went into like a celebration, happiness, and Dadi was within a second. It's like she'd gone from this to this, and I really, and looking at everyone's faces as well, and this wouldn't just happen one night, because we used to have about 10 sessions of Rakhi every day. As soon as Rakhi finished, it turned into like a dance sort of thing, and that really sort of homed into me that really it's that balance of 1 minute into that depth of silence, 1 minute into happiness and love. And she exemplified that completely at that time. And as you know, towards the end, like what Jaymini Ben is saying, just like Dadi Ratan Moni, you must be hearing at the moment that Dadi doesn't speak so much, but it's just through her smile. And I think in the last phase for Daddy as well, it was just the smile, and all she would want was to just celebrate.
Yeah, she's an incredible example of that, of the balance. Sound, silence, silence, sound. I did have the great fortune of her making me, voluntolding me to sing. See that I did there? Silence. And now sound. Daddy, for me, is like the embodiment of, guaranteed victory. I mean, and not to give up, no matter what. Just keep going. No matter what, just keep going. And it's, what fuels her was God, Baba, and the love for the Murli. So it's like we have all the same tools, and so it's exciting to see, the daddies have flown, but here we are, and Baba's putting us in front now, really, for us to step up to the plate, and Anyway, I'll stop there. Yeah.
Just continuing, Denzel, on the subject of Daddy's love for the Murli. That was one of the most powerful experiences I had with Daddy actually it was in her last year, and I was just passing her room and Gentiben was there, and she said, just go and see Daddy. So I walked in and Daddy was sitting there with the Murli, with the glasses on, and I sat there with her in complete silence for about 15 minutes, but just it really struck me, the depth of love for every single word Baba shares on that Murli. It was like, even though I can't read Hindi and I wasn't listening to it, I could feel it coming off the page as she was listening to it and reading it. And it was such an incredible lesson that's the way and it's the way all of us can really access Baba's Murli from such a space of love and love for truth, because I think that was one of Daddy's major specialities, was her really rigorous love for truth and the way she would carve through anything that wasn't, because she had a Kali side to her as well. I remember her doing a Kali face at me at one point, which for anyone who doesn't know is when you stick the sang right out. I won't demonstrate. But that real love for the Murli, so a big lesson to when I pick that Murli up, to really go with Baba and go into it and make each point alive in the mind.
One of the great attributes of Dadi Janki is that she was able to sort of give the right advice to the soul and also to make the soul light. And I remember a story that I had heard. This was in London. A particular sister had been taking some substance misuse. She'd been taking some drugs, and she shared it with another sister. And she was quite heavy about it, because obviously she stopped taking it, but it sort of played on her mind. And her friend said, go and tell Dadi Janki, just get it out of your system, just go. And of course she was very afraid and wondering what Daddy would say. So she went to Daddy in a personal meeting, and she says, Daddy, I have something to say. I've been taking something that makes me high. And Daddy said, can I have some? So I think I would like to hear some stories where how Daddy has just taken that heaviness instantly. She makes you feel so light and all the problems just go away.
Daddy was very tactful, but at the same time very direct, like Toots, you mentioned about truth. Dadi actually could see the truth in whatever it is someone may be sharing. She just catches the vibrations, and she was very subtle. She was able to pick up. So this was Dadi's power, and her power was so powerful that she was able to actually cut through all the frills and all the, expansion that you may be having or you may be displaying in front of her. And she would actually come to the point, and sometimes she makes it a big kind of a joke, and she would laugh and she would giggle, and we are asking her why is she laughing, and she would not stop laughing, and she would really giggle so much. And later she would tell us what it was that is making her feel like that. So in the later days, I noticed that how Dadi took everything very lightly. Even if it was very serious, she would make a joke of it, and she would make it very lightly. So when she makes it very light, then the other person who is sharing it, they would actually feel very relieved, and they would not feel heavy about it. They don't have to say, oh yeah, I made this mistake, or I done this, or I'm asking for forgiveness. No, she would never allow them to feel that, and nor, although she knows the truth, but she will never ever give them that feeling she knows the truth. She wants to give them help, she wants to give them support so that they can come out of it. So she uses so many different ways of helping souls to really come out clean with whatever it is, because everybody's effort maker and everybody's on a different phases. And Dadi would know, and she would actually connect with the souls. And I've seen that how she comes in the class and you wonder what Dadi is going to share today. She's actually already tapped into these energies, all of us, and you feel like, oh, Dadi's talking to me. Like, Bap Dada speaking the Murli, you feel Baba is listening to my thoughts, Baba is listening to my heart. Same thing, Dadi was, I felt, oh, this was the whole class for me. I didn't say anything to Dadi, or did somebody go and say anything about me to Dadi? We used to wonder. But you see, this is what I saw, the subtle powers that Dadi developed in working with people. And she used to often say that this is my, this is my hobby. My hobby is to help souls to become divine, to help souls to become deity-like. So she was taking pride from that. And so you could see that how she was preparing herself to become that angel, that perfect person, that, very balanced, and everybody accepting, yes, this is where I am at. Wherever we are, I accept that, without anybody saying anything to anyone.
I said Dadi Janki is the best interior designer. I think I'm just looking at the souls who are from different countries. Wherever Dadi would go, she would come into a room and she would change all the furniture around. No? I'm looking. She would, and actually when she's visited, now it's King Charles, but when she visited Prince Charles, I remember Jentivan was sharing that, when the King, I'll call him King because he's King now, King Charles, when he would come into the room where it was like a private meeting with Dadi, she would adjust the chairs, say, Janti, bidi, aap yahan baitho, I'll sit here, you sit here, and like this. So there was no sort of thing of that, things should be fixed. Dadi, for me, was the one individual where I learned how to adjust in every second, because you would plan something. Sometimes we plan things, and then when you show things to Dadi, within a second it would change. And so just like when she would walk into a room, she would change things around. And it's not that because she didn't like the way it was, but it's like Dadi feels the vibrations. She feels also like now, she would make sure, like if somebody's sitting and she can't see them, she would say, no, sit here, so she would adjust people. So why? So they take the maximum benefit. And I think that's, for me, is a very powerful thing. And I think also Dadi Janki, for me, was always a forward thinker. For her, it was always about what is next, what is next, what is next. So whenever any Baba centers would be ready, she would always be saying, okay, now what is next? And so again, this drive that Dadi had, and I think she empowered everyone, whichever center she went to as well. That empowerment, okay, do something, rather than just being happy where you are, what you're doing. No, what is next? And I think she is the one, for me anyway, that instilled this thing about always create newness. Always new. The next moment is always new. It's always alive. It's always good.
Urvashi, you reminded me of something that I was sharing with Toots earlier. And thinking about Dadi, really amazing personality, and all the Dadis have something very special, and in their company, we cannot copy that, we cannot duplicate that. It's Dadis are Dadis because they were in the company of Brahma Baba, and all of them made utmost effort from their hearts to give that same feeling of Brahma Baba's sustenance that they received to everyone. And we felt that from Dadi Ji and also Dadi Gulzar and Dadi Ratan Moini, all the Dadis. And one thing about these Dadis, I would say all of them, is that they never have their comfort zone. You see, like, your bedroom, your bed, your pillow, or, your seat, your chair where you sit, certain things we make it so clear that this is kind of mine, but Dadi was not like that. Even Dadi Ji was not like that. I know Dadi Gulzar wasn't like that. So they never ever, because Baba wasn't like that. You see, look at Baba's life. He was in that small room, Baba's room. Baba didn't have bathroom in his room. He used to go outside. There was outside bathroom somewhere, no matter what the weather is. Now, it's cold. But this is earlier days when they came to Mount Abu. It was very cold, but none of them actually were in that comfort zone. Mama as well, we've heard the stories. So this is why the organization, the way it has grown, and especially Dadi coming to the West, I think in a short space of time we had centers. I remember one year we remembered, in 100 countries we have center. It was a big achievement. And Dadi had only been there 30 years. 30 years, a big organization, any company in 100 countries, it's not possible. How come it's possible here? You see, so these are all the personal attention that Dadi paid on her dharna, no comfort zone, accept whatever it is, accept everyone. It's very fluid and constantly mingling with everyone and wanting to see what can I do best for this person, how can I make this person comfortable, have they got everything what they want, and even if we don't have it, she will make sure that we order it for them and give it to them, and she would call them and give it to them. This is how she was always caring, always thinking about others.
Just to add to that, Jaymini Ben, I was just thinking how she really was the example that Baba's sort of putting in front of us, that we can also all be for the world, which is this timeless emperor. That the way she used time, and that's why the success rate was so extraordinary. And she would get off very long flights, and also Hansa Ben too. She's a conqueror of time, and Janki Ben, and all those close, because they get straight off flights and straight into meeting souls, obviously taking care of their needs, but above and beyond all the time to think what next. And it made me think that actually what she was really driven by is this establishment of heaven on earth. And I feel that was really, her time with Brahma Baba, those years of tapasya, that became so deep. And then when her opportunity came to fly go and do Baba's work and bring soul consciousness to the world and supreme soul consciousness to the world. She was relentless. Yeah, so we can all do that, can't we?
Just want to share Daddy's interaction with the other daddies. And what I observed was she had so much respect and love for the daddies, and especially Daddy G. She would never do anything until she first checked with Daddy G. And I just realized how much respect that she has, that she's been taught right from the early days. So what did you observe? Because Jaymini Ben and Urvashi, you were very close to Dadi Janki. What did you learn by being so close? But at the same time, Denzel and Toots, we were probably, a little bit distant because we had other commitments as well. We were householders. So what difference did that make to your lives?
I think what Daddy taught me was this one powerful word: communication. Communication, communication, communication. And just like you said, about Dadi Ji and that communication, she always used to say, if anything, you need to say, don't delay. And I think I learned that from Dadi. Don't delay anything. If you've got something in your thoughts that you're not quite sure about, communicate it. And I think also, if on a different level, the infrastructure of Madhuban and all the centers around the world, the link is communication. And so from the Murlis, from Sakha Baba, how he used to always communicate, how much communication by writing the letters to all the children. And I know Jayanti Ben would always say, once a week, Brahma Baba would write a letter to London to Jayanti Ben's mother. And so communication for me has been the key thing from Dadi, that communication has the power. And communication actually resolves issues, it stops obstacles and things like that, because you're clear, absolutely clear within yourself. And I think until just before Dadi left all of us, it's like when I meant left all of us, I meant when Dadi Ji passed away, Dadi Janki in London, I remember that she knew her role has changed, that she was going to become, the head of the organization. And Dadi never gave the missing feeling. She would do a conference call every Thursday or every Sunday and speak to the class. Do you remember Jaymini Ben? She would do that without delay. And why? Because it's like they should know. And I think, again, it's the seed is from Sakha Baba. Never give that feeling of missing feeling, or the children feel, what are we going to do now? And now I feel also in the Avyakt way, there's never that feeling. You can always feel that the daddies, mama, baba, they're just above here. They're just above you. They're watching every single thing you're doing. So, and it's a good feeling. And Mohini Ben's last message, I remember that it's like the Avyakt souls and we who are here in the Sakha form, it's working together. It's not that they're doing their bit, it's separation, but this feeling of working together, and again, that's communication.
अपने सुकर्मों के बल पिता को अब याद करो ये संगम का स्वर्णिम युग है शिव पिता फिर से आया है
ब्रह्मामुख से शिव बाबा ने वही गीता ज्ञान सुनाया है
कलयुग का अंत अब आया है विकराल विनाश खड़ा आगे
अब हम सबका शिव पिता ने बतलाया है
शिव पिता को अब याद करो पांडव शिव शक्ति सेना की रणभेरी अब फिर बजती है
शिव बाबा के ज्ञान से फिर माया को मार भगाना है
शिव पिता को अब याद करो सतयुग में तुमको आना है शिव पिता को अब याद करो मुक्ति धाम तुम्हें जाना है अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है
धाम में तुम्हें
सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है
धाम में तुम्हें जाना है
The communication, that beautiful example of Dadi Janki consulting with Dadi Ji, who, for all intents and purposes, was God's, chief instrument. So when Baba talks, give it to Baba, check with Baba, and he's responsible for whatever transpires. So it's a really beautiful thing to hand that over. But back to the chocolates. It was more, we're not ordinary, is the thing to keep reminding myself. I'm not, Dadi Janki was not ordinary, and she didn't want us to believe that we're ordinary. We're extraordinary, and so we do extraordinary things. And so the tradition of bringing, I bring it, it's unusual for a guest artist to bring gifts for the band, the orchestra, or the staff, or whatever. It's not so, and I don't do it because I want them to like me, but just it's a way, Baba, just appreciation that they're not normally receiving and under those circumstances. So just little things. So I was just inspired. I thought, well, why not give something that Dadi Janki, and so for us to. Yeah, we're not ordinary. We're not ordinary, and all our task is extraordinary. And so, don't forget that.
If you didn't meet her, hands up who didn't meet Dadi. Okay, just a few, yeah. Well, there's a couple of incredible pictures up around Gyan Sarovar of Dadi's drishti from Baba to the world. and that whole vision of sort of global support with God's light and love through her. And I think she held that all the time. And again, we can all hold that to support all our brothers and sisters and brother souls across the planet who are really suffering. And her compassionate heart, I think, really certainly taught me, taught us all.
I'd like to leave a thought for everyone. I know that there's so much that everyone, all of us who have been exposed to Dadi, have something or the other that is precious that you are having. I'm sure you're pondering over it as well, and your experience with Dadi. It's very, very powerful. So 2 things I want to share. One is something that Urvashi was sharing, it came home to me. You know, these 9 jewels that we talk about on the path of devotion, that we wear the ring of 9 jewels. And these are the 8 jewels, and the 9th one, of course, Baba in the middle. So the impact of these jewels on nature, on people, on situations, on events is tremendous. There are many, many situations where Dadi walking into the country, you know, a new country, like she went to Mexico when there was earthquake. This was in 80s. And she suddenly wanted to go to Mexico. She went alone. And she wanted to be at that site where the earthquake had happened, not far away from the center. Baba's center was there. Sister Elena was there. She's no longer in this body now. But Dadi went there. And so you can imagine that experience that she got from it. So much compassion and love for the souls. So when anything like that has happened, traumatic things in the world outside, like Twin Towers, Dadi was in London in the month of September, August, September. And it was Urvashi's birthday, 9/11. And, you know, we are about to cut the cake. And we heard of this Twin Towers coming down. I took Dadi to see on the TV. I said, Dadi, come, I'm going to show you this. So Dadi saw it for a second, and she said, switch off the TV, tell everyone to go to Baba's room. So we all went to Baba's room, instantly, sat in Baba's room. So this is Dadi, how can we help? Just send vibrations to those souls. In 1997, the other time that I was traveling with Dadi, it was from Zimbabwe to Mombasa. We were traveling on the plane with Vedanti Ben. And on the plane, we read the news, all the newspapers. Princess Diana had a car crash and she died. So I was relating constantly all the news to Dadi. And she says to me, I need to stop it now. Just give vibration. She went into deep silence. And so there are many such events that Dadi would go deep into deep silence. So I learned that from her. Whenever I hear such events or I see, it has really helped me to go deep into that silence, into that space, connect with Baba, and really draw the power and send the vibrational energies to all these places. There are so many such events that I've envisaged that Dadi would really want us to be in that space of silence and be with Baba. And what can we do? We can only do that is spread the vibrations. So, you know, Dadi, when she left the physical body, this was in 2020. Yeah, I wasn't here, 27th of March. The whole atmosphere of Abu changed. There was so much upheaval in the nature that took place, and we heard about it, the rainfall, the lightning, the wind blowing. I mean, everything was like out of place, and never has anyone witnessed that. So this was a very good example of how the nature is really giving support, cooperation, cleaning the atmosphere and preparing the grounds. So I feel the impact of these jewels. They are jewels, all of the dadis, they are the jewels. So their impact, wherever they are now in that angelic form, in the next body, which we call it advanced party, they have an impact on us. So if I remember and connect with Baba, and I remember those ancestors' souls, then whatever you are going through in your life, not good bit or good bit, whatever it is, bad or good, it will actually help you to come out of it. And that energy is helping us all today. So take drishti. I know the photos, Baba said Sakar Mulli. We heard it about a month ago or so, that it's only incorporeal that you connect with. But I think for all of us, because we have experienced tremendous power of being in their company, we should take benefit of that. And we are not kind of remembering, we are remembering Baba, but we are in that, canopy. We are being looked after, we are being sustained. So we need that. We must have that. We cannot say that only incorporeal. No, I feel it's not enough. We need to have all these advanced party souls, the ancestor souls, their energy, their presence, their canopy upon our head, so that we can all come out clean in a situation where we need help, support, we are alone, So keep taking that, that's what I would say, because I take this all the time. Every day I have to take drishti from Baba, but also from Dadi. And so this is our protection.
Om Shanti. Time is limited, and so we've come to the end of this particular event. But I would like to sort of extend to everyone, whether we were with Baba, Sakar Baba or not, or whether we were with the daddies in the physical form or not, all of us belong to a very wonderful, unique global family. What makes us special is because we follow the one. And let's just remember the one now and keep that in our awareness. Om Shanti.
चलते 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 यूं ही कोई मिल गया था यूं ही कोई मिल गया था सरे राह चलते चलते सरे राह चलते चलते वही थम के रह गई है वही थम के रह गई है मेरी रात झलके मिल गया था सरेरा चलते 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 सरेरा चलते 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 यूं ही कोई मिल गया था यूं ही कोई मिल गया था बुझ रहे हैं ये चिराग बुझ रहे हैं मेरे साथ जलते जलते मेरे साथ जलते जलते ये चिराग बुझ रहे
So thank you very much to